Hi. It's been a while. If you asked me a couple months ago if we'd ever be revisiting the Basil Chronicles, I would have told you no chance. By all accounts, the job was done, and I figured it'd be best to let his actions speak for themselves and leave the remnants of this conflict in the rearview mirror. Times change. Okay, so let's talk about why we're back at the spice rack. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, Basil responded to the video, amending his document with a detailed rebuttal. Most of it is incredibly trivial, definitely not worthy of a double-dip drama, but within this nothing burger of a response lies one accusation, a narrative that rides a fine line between character assassination and downright hilarity. Basil is now unironically claiming that both the Reddit and Twitter accounts vigilantly spamming his document were in fact not him, but an unknown third party. You heard that right, gents. According to Basil, we've got the wrong guy. And by his account, I used my platform to target and defame an innocent person of being a deranged, vengeful stalker to over 500,000 people. Originally, I meant to get this video out like 2 months ago, but burnout's a bitch and I had alts to grind. So I figured I'd give you all something to chew on while video production picks back up. It'd be a shame to let the evidence wither away in the dark recesses of a schizo folder. In fairness, he's right. I never actually proved in the video that Basil was the one behind the account spam. But that's because, from my perspective, it seemed incontrovertible. I applaud the confidence, the cojones to believe that you had enough foresight to not leave a paper trail. Cute. Frankly, not going down the rabbit hole the first time was a courtesy, one that Basil seems intent on throwing away. Well, thy will be done. Who am I to stand in the way of someone's humiliation fetish? Roll out the red yarn. To start, let's go over the foundational basis for why I thought it was self-evident that Basil was the culprit. When establishing a causal relationship between an action and a suitable perpetrator, we always need to ask ourselves, why? What motive would compel someone to become a glue-sniffing reply guy parading their doc in the face of my fanbase for half a year? Well, probabilistically, the guy who created a lengthy Reddit post days after the video went live, sock puppeted on Discord weeks later to disseminate more information, created and subsequently spread around a hit piece riddled with lies and then later stamped it to their Steam profile for over a year, yeah, that guy might be worth looking into. Right off rip, there's no one on the entire planet that has more of a vested interest in the proliferation of this document than Basil himself. This was such an obvious reading that none of you in the comments even bothered to question it. He was already proven to be a manic freak show. This behavior was just an emboldening of that already established moniker. But none of that is 100% conclusive, so let's actually drill down here. Let's really get into the weeds. After all, Basil has been impersonated on Twitter once before. Who's to say that all of these accounts aren't the product of some trollish third party? Well, in a stroke of irony, this post calling out the imposter gives us a lot more tells on what to look for. Notably, this account points to the Talkabot link in the bio as a clear discrepancy, as Basil isn't and has never been a member of the group. Additionally, the account also claims that I mischaracterized him as such in my original video, which, as showcased before, I did not. So already, with this one tweet, we know that 1. This user has enough intel to know that Basil would never publicly rep Talkabot, 2. Mistakenly believes that I called him a member of the org, and 3. Has a vested interest in white knighting Basil's character a year and a half after the original event took place. Wow, what a noble guy. There's also the fact that the very existence of this account proves that they're willing to go under an alias to refute the claims being made, which a special someone has a self-admitted record of doing. Now, you're all probably looking at this and thinking, well, duh, it's obviously Basil. But a surprising amount of people within the MvM community found it prudent to give him the benefit of the doubt, because apparently I'm still a big bad cheater supporter who can't be trusted. And Basil, whether consciously or not, played into that charitability and milked it dry. From an outsider's point of view, this response carries a veneer of exceptional good faith engagement. He's admitting his past behavior was wrong, he's crossing out many of the false accusations and amending them. He even thanked me for making the video. Don't get me wrong, I still believe most of his refutation is a crock of shit. But in terms of salvaging one's own public image, it doesn't get much better than this. But that's where the rug pull comes in, because this supposed well-meaning response is interwoven with a clear-cut fucking lie that many people have unironically bought into. Because the rest of the document appeared to be sincere, why would this claim be any different? Maybe this was an intentional decision, owning up to being a dumb fuck for many of the more minor quibbles, so that when it comes time to talk about the elephant in the room, he's given some newfound credibility, thereby absolving himself of his worst transgression. But trust me, that ain't happening. I watched Inspector Gadget as a kid. I'm basically an expert in forensics. If you've seen part 1, you'll probably remember that I showed off this screenshot from the encounter with Basil and Schwabel on August 2nd of last year. As many of you are well aware, images save metadata relating to the exact point in time that they were snapshotted, and this one in particular was taken at 8:32 p.m. Got that? Okay. Now, if we crawl all the way back to the first ever post made from a dedicated spam account, we can see that it was made at 9:08 p.m., the exact same day a mere 36 minutes later. Remember, the last time this drama had ever been brought up in a public forum on Reddit was done by Basil himself shortly after the original video went live, on May 5th of 2022. A full 454 days of nothing, not a peep relating to the document. But suddenly, a mere half an hour after meeting me in-game, some shadowy figure crawls out from underneath the floorboards to defend Basil's honor. Well, isn't that just awfully convenient timing? Funnily enough, in Basil's response, he actually saved the chat logs from this encounter. And in a glorious case of self-incrimination, he proves that at the time, he still, 15 months after the video's release, had an axe to grind over the perceived wrongdoing on my part. It was literally the first thing he said to me upon joining into the game. What's more, if we look at this alt-Reddit account, we can see that they made a post on a PC gaming subreddit referencing that they're based in the EU. Again, how convenient. Need more evidence? Probably not, but fuck it, let's drop it anyways. Shortly after the Reddit post, alt accounts of the same nature would surface on Twitter, and boy, get ready for some tonal whiplash here. This is the first account that initiated the Twitter brigading, and here's a reply to one of my tweets on July 25th, 2023, a week before the Basil encounter. As you can see, it too addresses the allegations, but it's very formal. Almost too formal. But then, immediately after the Reddit post was created, it drops all formality and starts posting the same document using the same language, with the same capitalization, and even the same punctuation. There are two options here. Either this account with no prior history saw the Reddit account and was so enthralled with its gripping nature that they elected to shift their entire engagement strategy to be a one-to-one parody of it. Or, the more obvious answer, these two accounts spamming the exact same shit in the exact same way that materialized right after the Basil encounter are the same person. I wonder who. The connective tissue between the accounts goes even deeper, because these two chat logs referenced in one of their replies are the exact same screenshots pinned to the predominant expose account, the one that throat-fucked my viewers' notifications months later. Trust me when I say there were, and still are, hundreds of screenshots you could remove all context from to paint me in a negative light. Going 2 for 2 on literally the exact same ones makes it hard to believe these are two separate entities, especially with all of the outstanding context that we have. So the main repository is very likely ran by the same person who created the first spam account. The first spam account is ran by the same guy who created the European Reddit account, which conveniently was in the dark for 454 days, right up until the point I encounter Basil in game, after clearly showcasing he still has a grudge to bear. How many more smoking guns do we need to conclude that this is obviously Basil? Well, how about one more? As I was parsing through each and every user to gather evidence, one of them stood out for a very peculiar reason. See, all of these accounts were nothing but random amalgamations of letters and numbers. Unsurprising given their throwaways. But strangely, one of the accounts was in fact not a throwaway, but a Yakuza meme account. Ah, another clue. Let's see if we can find anything here. Oh, would you look at that? 100% completion of every game in the series. Hundreds of hours, dozens of screenshots, rows upon rows of achievements, even a dedicated Counter-Strike skin. And the cherry on top of the fucking sundae, this account would go on to bitch about how Infinite Wealth's Steam page was inaccessible in Germany. Bingo. Did you not think for even a moment to keep your Yakuza paraphernalia and your revenge plot separate? The gall to leave enough breadcrumbs to feed a starving African village, yet adamantly claim you're not the one responsible, is almost as funny as it is insulting. I think you can understand why I came back for seconds. The just desserts have never tasted better. Basil, in his revised document, still refuses to speculate on the supposed third party schizo posting on his behalf. But please, speculate. Drop a few names into the hat. Because there is not a single other person on the entire fucking planet that has even 5% of the red yarn engulfing your name right now. How anyone bought this bullshit, I will never know. What really grinds my balls is the fake good guy persona. Look, I get it. 1800 tours, one of the most active MvM players to ever do it. You've got an unfair victimization rep to uphold. I understand. My suggestion, drop it. If you're gonna be an unhinged maniac, be an unhinged maniac. I mean shit, that's what Bill Gaither did. He was even nice enough to send us a Happy New Year's message.
Are you ready? Are you ready for 2024? We are going to have the time of our life kicking every fucking ape, every gas pound, every fucking neck that comes across. Seek! Pile! Seek! Pile! Seek! Pile!
I did not see this coming. Look, I'm not gonna pull the bitch face YouTuber cliche of saying that I didn't want to make this video. I put the damn clips on the timeline for a reason. Multiple reasons, actually. One, I felt bad about not uploading, and better to fill that video quota sooner rather than later. And this addendum was already basically 80% completed. It was just stuck in the corner for a couple of months as it watched my aversion to doing any meaningful work take over. But two, it's also a good opportunity to call out all of the MvM dipshits who unironically took his side. This video is as much a shot against them as it is Basil. Like, really, this is the guy you're hitching your ride to? Good luck with that. I know I said a while back that dedicated drama content is no longer on the agenda, but that's always been a product of my fatigue with it all. I'm not above rolling around in the mud. I just don't appreciate the smell of shit that comes after. But if community villains want to keep throwing perfect pitch after perfect pitch, sometimes we're just gonna swing. This drama, however, we're done. There's nothing more I can say. Basil doesn't need a third video. He needs a caretaker and some grippy socks. It's a shame, really. So many personalities, and every one of them decided to be a fucking idiot. See ya!
The wave of man-up toxicity is coming. Are you ready? Because I am!